صلى الله على محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم.
Chapter on the invitation of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, to the people to embrace Islam and to believe in his prophethood, and not to take each other as lords instead of Allah. The statement of Allah Almighty: it is not possible for any human being whom Allah has given the book. Quran, Chapter 3, verse 79. Narrated Abdullah bin Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him. Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, wrote to Caesar and invited him to Islam, and sent him his letter with Dihiyah al-Kalbi, whom Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, ordered to hand it over to the governor of Basra, who would forward it to Caesar. Caesar, as a sign of gratitude to Allah, had travelled from Hims to Ilya, Jerusalem, when Allah had granted him victory over the Persian forces. So, when the letter of Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, reached Caesar, he said after reading it, "Seek for me any one of his people, Arabs of Quraysh tribe, if present here, in order to ask him about Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him." Ibn Abbas added, at that time, Abu Sufyan bin Harb was in Sham with some men from Quraysh who had come to Sham as merchants during the truce that had been concluded between Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, and the infidels of Quraysh. Abu Sufyan said, "Caesar's messengers found us somewhere in Sham, so he took me and my companions to Ilya, and we were admitted to Caesar's court to find him sitting in his royal court, wearing a crown and surrounded by the senior dignitaries of the Byzantines." He said to his translator, "Ask them who amongst them is closely related to the man who claims to be a prophet." Abu Sufyan added, I replied, "I am the nearest relative to him." He asked, "What degree of relationship do you have with him?" I replied, "He is my cousin, and there was none of Bani Abd Manaf in the caravan except myself." Caesar said, "Let him come nearer." He then ordered that my companions stand behind me, near my shoulder, and said to his translator, "Tell his companions that I am going to ask this man about the man who claims to be a prophet. If he tells a lie, they should contradict him immediately." Abu Sufyan added, "By Allah, had it not been shameful that my companions label me a liar, I would not have spoken the truth about him, that is, the Prophet, peace be upon him, when he asked me. But I considered it shameful to be called a liar by my companions, so I told the truth." He then said to his translator, "Ask him, what is that man's family status among you?" I replied, "He belongs to a noble family amongst us." He said, "Have anybody else amongst you ever claimed the same before him?" I replied, "No." He said, "Had you ever blamed him for telling lies before he claimed what he claimed?" I replied, "No." He said, "Was anybody amongst his ancestors a king?" I replied, "No." He said, "Do the noble or the poor follow him?" I replied, "It is the poor who follow him." He said, "Are they increasing or decreasing day by day?" I replied, "They are increasing." He said, "Does anybody amongst those who embrace his, the Prophet's, religion become displeased and then discard his religion?" I replied, "No." He said, "Does he ever betray or prove treacherous to his covenants?" I replied, "No, but we are now at truce with him, and we are afraid that he may betray us." Abu Sufyan added, "Other than the last sentence, I could not say anything against him." Caesar then asked, "Have you ever had a battle with him?" I replied, "Yes." He said, "What was the outcome of your battles with him?" I replied, "The result was undecided. The victory is shared by us in turns." He said, "What does he order you to do?" I said, "He tells us to worship Allah alone, and not to worship others along with him, and to leave all that our forefathers used to worship. He orders us to offer salat, prayer, give in charity, be chaste, keep promises, and return what is entrusted to us." When I had said that, Caesar said to his translator, "Say to him, I ask you about his lineage, and your reply was that he belonged to a noble family. In fact, all the messengers came from the noblest lineage of their nations. Then I questioned you whether anybody else amongst you had claimed such a thing, and your reply was in the negative. If the answer had been in the affirmative, I would have thought that this man was following a claim that had been said before him. When I asked you whether he was ever blamed for telling lies, your reply was in the negative. So I took it for granted that a person who did not tell a lie about others, the people, could never tell a lie about Allah. Then I asked you whether any of his ancestors was a king. Your reply was in the negative. And if it had been in the affirmative, I would have thought that this man wanted to take back his ancestral kingdom. When I asked you whether the rich or the poor people followed him, you replied that it was the poor who followed him. In fact, such are the followers of the messengers. Then I asked you whether his followers were increasing or decreasing. You replied that they were increasing. In fact, this is the result of true faith till it is complete in all respects. I asked you whether there was anybody who, after embracing his religion, became displeased and discarded his religion. Your reply was in the negative. In fact, this is the sign of true faith. For when its cheerfulness enters and mixes in the hearts completely, nobody will be displeased with it. I asked you whether he had ever betrayed or proved treacherous to his covenants. You replied in the negative, and such are the messengers. They never betray or prove treacherous to their covenants. When I asked you whether you fought with him, and he fought with you, you replied that he did, and that sometimes he was victorious and sometimes you. Indeed, such are the messengers. They are put to trials and the final victory is always theirs. Then I asked you what he ordered you. You replied that he ordered you to worship Allah alone and not to worship others along with him, to leave all that your forefathers used to worship, to offer salat, prayer, to speak the truth, to be chaste, to be faithful to one's covenants, and to return what is entrusted to you. These are really the qualities of a prophet who, I knew from the previous scriptures, would appear, but I did not know that he would be from amongst you. If what you say is true, he will very soon occupy the earth under my feet. And if I knew that I would reach him, definitely, I would go immediately to meet him. And were I with him, then I would certainly wash his feet. Abu Sufyan added, Caesar then asked for the letter of Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, and it was read. Its contents were, In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. This letter is from Muhammad, the slave of Allah and his messenger, to Heraclius, the ruler of the Byzantines. Peace be upon him who follows the true guidance. Now then, I invite you to Islam, that is, surrender to Allah. Embrace Islam and you will be safe. Embrace Islam and Allah will bestow on you a double reward. But if you reject this invitation of Islam, you shall be responsible for misguiding the peasants, that is, your nation. O people of the scriptures, Jews and Christians, come to a word that is just between us and you, that we worship none but Allah, and that we associate no partners with Him, and that none of us shall take others as lords besides Allah. Then if they turn away, say, Bear witness that we are Muslims. Quran, chapter 3, verse 64. Abu Sufyan added, When Heraclius had finished his speech, there was a great hue and cry caused by the Byzantine royalties surrounding him, and there was so much noise that I did not understand what they said. So we were turned out of the court. When I went out with my companions and we were alone, I said to them, Verily, Ibn Abi Kabshaz, that is, the Prophet's affair has become so prominent that even the king of Bani al-Asfar, Byzantines, is afraid of him. Abu Sufyan added, By Allah, I remained in a state of humility and was sure that his religion would be victorious till Allah opened my heart for Islam, though I disliked it, that is, embraced Islam. Footnote: The name Ibn Abi Kabsha was said by Abu Sufyan just to slight the Prophet, peace be upon him, for this was not one of the Prophet's names. Narrated Sahih bin Sa'd, may Allah be pleased with him. that he heard the Prophet peace be upon him on the day of the battle of Khaybar saying, I will give the flag to a person at whose hands Allah will grant victory. So the companions of the Prophet peace be upon him got up, wishing eagerly to see to whom the flag will be given, and every one of them wished to be given the flag. But the Prophet peace be upon him asked for Ali. Someone informed him that he was suffering from eye trouble, so he ordered them to bring Ali in front of him. Then the Prophet peace be upon him spat in his eyes, and his eyes were cured immediately, as if he never had an eye trouble. Ali said, We will fight with them, that is, infidels, till they become like us, that is, Muslims. The Prophet peace be upon him said, Be patient till you face them and invite them to Islam, and inform them of what Allah has enjoined upon them. By Allah, if a single person embraces Islam at your hands, that is, through you, that will be better for you than red camels. See Hadith number 2975. Narrated Anas, may Allah be pleased with him. Whenever Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, attacked some people, he would never attack them till it was dawn. If he heard the adhan, that is, call to salat, prayer, he would delay the fight, and if he did not hear the adhan, he would attack them immediately after dawn. We reached Khaybar at night. Footnote: the Prophet peace be upon him would wait till dawn to see whether the people he was attacking had been converted to Islam or not, and the sign of their embracing Islam will be the pronunciation of the adhan. He would not attack them if he heard the adhan. Narrated Anas, may Allah be pleased with him, whenever Allah's Messenger peace be upon him attacked, as Hadith number 2943. Narrated Anas, may Allah be pleased with him, the Prophet peace be upon him set out for Khaybar and reached there at night. He used to not attack if he reached the people at night till the day broke. So when the day dawned, the Jews came out with their bags and spades. When they saw the Prophet peace be upon him, and they said, Muhammad peace be upon him and his army, the Prophet said, Allahu Akbar, Allah is the most great, and Khaybar is ruined. For whenever we approach a nation, that is, enemy to fight, then it will be a miserable morning for those who have been warned. Narrated Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, Allah's Messenger peace be upon him said, I have been ordered by Allah to fight against the people till they say, La ilaha illallah, none has the right to be worshipped but Allah. And whoever said, La ilaha illallah, he saved his life and property from me except for Islamic law, and his accounts will be with Allah, either to punish him or to forgive him. See Hadith 25 and Hadith 1399.